Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about a very interesting coin, the 1965 Washington quarter. At first glance, it may look like a regular 25-cent coin that you can find in your change, but there's more to it than meets the eye. Some of these quarters from 1965 are very special. In fact, some people believe one version of this coin could be worth up to $25,000. So, how is that possible? Why would a simple quarter from 1965 be worth so much money? Let's talk about its history, the rare errors, and how you can spot one of these valuable coins yourself. First, let's understand why 1965 was such an important year for U.S. coins. Before 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. But because the price of silver was rising, the U.S. government decided to stop using silver in its coins. So, starting in 1965, quarters were made with a new material, a copper core with a thin layer of nickel on the outside. This is called a clad coin. This change made coins cheaper to produce and stopped people from melting down coins for their silver content. Because of this big change, 1965 was a transition year. The U.S. Mint had to change their machines and coin-making process. And anytime big changes happen, mistakes can also happen. That's exactly what happened with some 1965 quarters. Some of these coins were struck using silver planchets. These are the metal discs used to make coins. These silver planchets were leftovers from 1964 and somehow got used in 1965. This kind of mistake is known as a transitional error. These silver 1965 quarters are very rare and valuable. So, how can you tell if you have one of these rare silver 1965 quarters? One way is to check the weight. A regular 1965 quarter made with copper and nickel weighs about 5.67 grams. But a quarter made of silver should weigh about 6.25 grams. If your 1965 quarter feels heavier, it might be a silver error coin. Another way to check is to look at the edge of the coin. Normal clad quarters show a brownish-orange line along the edge because of the copper inside. A silver quarter won't have this line, it will look silver all the way around. Some of these silver 1965 quarters have been sold at auctions for thousands of dollars. One example was sold for over $14,000. That's a big jump from 25 cents. But remember, these coins are very rare. Most 1965 quarters are normal and worth only face value or maybe a little more if they're in great condition. Still, it's always worth checking, especially if you have an old coin jar at home. Now, besides silver errors, there are other kinds of rare errors that make 1965 quarters valuable. One of them is the double die error. This happens when the coin's design is stamped twice by mistake, but slightly out of line. When this happens, parts of the coin like the words, Liberty, or, In God We Trust, may look doubled or blurry. If you spot this kind of doubling on your 1965 quarter, you could have a valuable error coin. Another type of error is called an off-center strike. This means the coin wasn't lined up properly when it was made, and part of the design is missing or off to one side. The more off-center the coin is, the more valuable it might be, especially if you can still see the date. Some off-center 1965 quarters have sold for hundreds of dollars. There are also coins that were struck on the wrong kind of blank. For example, there are a few 1965 quarters that were accidentally struck on a blank meant for a nickel or even a penny. These coins are smaller and lighter than usual. One such coin sold for over $5,000. These are known as wrong planchet errors. They are very rare and usually get noticed quickly because their size and weight are clearly off. Another amazing and extremely rare error is something people call the double tail quarter. This kind of coin has the eagle, the reverse side, on both sides no George Washington head at all. While this kind of error is almost unheard of and may have been made as a test piece or a mint experiment, if you ever found one, it could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. But be careful. Many fake coins try to copy this kind of error, so it's important to have any rare-looking coin checked by an expert or sent to a grading company. If you think you found a valuable 1965 quarter, the best thing to do is not clean it or try to change it in any way. Cleaning a coin can actually lower its value. Instead, keep it safe in a coin holder and take it to a professional coin dealer or send it to a coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can tell you if it's a real error coin and what it might be worth. Even if your 1965 quarter doesn't have a rare error, it might still be worth something if it's in really good condition. Coins that have never been used and have no scratches or wear are called mint state coins. A regular 1965 quarter in mint condition could be worth $10, $20, or even more, depending on the grade. Collectors like to pay more for coins that look brand new, even if they aren't rare errors. So what does all this mean for you? Well, if you have some old quarters lying around, especially from 1965, it's worth taking a closer look. Check the edge for signs of silver, weigh it if you can, and look for any unusual features like doubling or off-center designs. You never know what you might have. Some people have made thousands of dollars just by checking their pocket change. To sum it all up, the 1965 Washington quarter is special because it was made during a big change in U.S. coin history. Most are made with copper and nickel and are not worth much. But a few rare ones like those struck on silver planchets or with minting errors can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. If you find one of these, you could have a valuable coin on your hands. Thanks for watching and being part of the channel. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give it a like, share it with other coin lovers, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next video. Also, if you've ever found a 1965 quarter that looks a little different, tell us about it in the comments. Who knows, maybe you're holding on to something truly rare and valuable. See you next time, and happy coin hunting.